What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to some more finance stuff where I help you land front office Wall Street roles. Now, again, I want to mention by no means I am an expert in anything. I'm simply speaking from my experiences, and if anything from that helps you take one step closer to landing your internship, that's all I want. Now, in this video, I'm going to be telling you exactly what I did when I was networking to not only get more responses than normal, but also to develop more connections leading to more interviews. There's 3 keys to networking that I personally see, and the first one is cold outreach. You're not going to be able to meet people at random at school events or any other place. You're going to have to take action to actually cold reach out to these people that you've never met before. There's 2 ways you could do that. One is through LinkedIn. You send them a connection and connect that way. Or 2 is to find their email and reach out to them that way. The first key to reaching out cold is to target alumni. These are the people that are not only from your school, so they know they have struggles. That's the first thing that you can connect on, is the fact that you're from the same university. So they're much more likely to respond to you. You definitely also want to be targeting only analysts when you're first starting out in the specific bank that you're targeting, because these are the people that much more recently have gone through the recruiting cycle and know what it's like, instead of some managing director who got into the bank 20 years ago. Upperclassmen are also a great way to start and get some names that you can reach out to. Now, the second key that I'm going to tell you with cold outreach is to differentiate yourself. With so many people reaching out to all these analysts and VPs, it's very easy for them to just lose your email in a sea of other emails unless there's something that you can do to differentiate yourself. What I recommend is mentioning both in the subject line of the email or connection note and in the body of the email why it is that you want to talk to them specifically. What I did was I mentioned the fact that, I saw that they were in X field. So for example, they were in derivatives or they were in fixed income. If you're going for investment banking, it could be something like healthcare, TMT, but you got to mention their exact field that they were in. And that's the reason that you want to talk to them specifically, because that's a field that you're particularly interested in. The third tip that I'm going to give within cold outreach is to follow up. You got to realize that these people's jobs are very, very busy, and it's very easy for them to lose a networking email where they might have looked at it for a second, but then they already got another email that they have to look at, completely forgetting about you. So chances are, if they don't respond to you, you probably caught them at a wrong time. Now, what I recommend is following up 2 more times after you've sent that first initial email, just saying, hey, just following up on this. I'd really love to talk to you. If you have any time, that'd be really great. Just as a way to remind them that if they did forget and they did mean to respond to you, then this is a great way for them to be reminded, and then they might respond to you and you guys have a networking call, hit it off, etc., etc. But one of my professors / mentors told me about this is that most people just give up after the first email, and that's why they don't have as many connections, because they're afraid to follow up. They don't want to seem annoying. Now, after the second or third time, the chances are really low that they're going to respond. Once after the second email, I even had one person tell me to just stop messaging them. So this will definitely happen, and it's just a part of the process. You have to accept that. So make sure to follow up, because that's the key to cold outreach. These people don't know who you are, so chances are they're not going to just respond the first time they see your email. You got to show them that you're persistent. So make sure to follow up. Moving on to the second big aspect of networking, and that is making impressions. There's 3 things here that I'm going to mention to you that really helped me stand out. First is to meet people in person and make in-person connections. Guys, I cannot stress to you the difference between a phone call and a face-to-face conversation. People are much, much more likely to remember you and also have a good impression on you when you meet them in person. My strongest connections have been the ones that I have met in person at school events or at places where I've asked them, can I meet you in person in the city? Let's grab a coffee, or can I visit your trading desk? That would be amazing. If you guys are going to a school that is on the East Coast and is relatively close to the city, I would highly, highly recommend that you guys make in-person connections, because an analyst might talk to 15, 20 people on the phone, but he might only speak to 2 people that he actually saw in person, which means that if you're one of those 2 people, there's a much higher likelihood that he remembers you, and he would recommend that you talk to the VP and not some of the other 15 people that he spoke with. This will be especially helpful if it's a higher up person that you're talking to in person, someone like a director or a managing director. It would be amazing for you to make an in-person connection with them, because they're going to remember you, and they're the ones that are going to have the pull when it comes to referring people to HR. Now, another important part of making connections is actually finding a common ground with the people that you're talking with. Now, it's a lot easier to do with analysts as opposed to managing directors, obviously. So what I would recommend if you're speaking with junior level people is to start off your conversation talking about something very casual, like college stuff. A great tip that I got once is typically all phone calls go, hey, how you doing? And then they go, good, how are you? And then that's your opportunity to tell them a little bit about who you are without them having to ask you. If they ask you, how are you? instead of just saying, yeah, I've been good, you could talk about what you did that weekend. You could talk about things that you have going on that show a little bit of who you are. If there's something in there that they find interesting and you guys can build off of that, that's gold. The best connections that you have are honestly not the ones where you talk so much about the deep technical stuff, but more so when you guys gel and connect as people. Some of my strongest connections have also been through this, where yes, I've demonstrated that I'm interested in what they're working in by asking them questions related to them, but also I've gotten to know them as a person because we gelled and made small talk for a little bit before getting into the technical stuff. Now, another tip I have for you to make a good impression is to focus the conversation around them, because that will more likely make them remember you. So for example, if you're speaking with someone that's even junior or even someone that's higher up, one of the best questions you could possibly ask them is, what advice would you give to yourself if you were in my position? And the great part about this question is that it's really broad. It can honestly go any way that they want to take it, and it's a question that makes them think. That's one of the best ways to stand out, is by asking them questions that actually make them think instead of just boring, mundane questions. How is a day in the life of a trader? Questions that they've already answered thousands of times. Now, the third key in making an impression is to impress with your curiosity and technical knowledge. Now, in one of my previous videos, I mentioned that one of the keys to landing an internship on Wall Street is to develop deep technical knowledge in whatever it is that you're trying to go into. Now, the reason I mentioned that is because this is the time where that comes into play. When you're talking with these professionals, if you can demonstrate that you've gone to the level of learning some of this stuff on your own, because that's how interested you are in it, it speaks volumes about what you will do when you're actually in that internship or job. Whenever you're speaking with these people, after the small talk is done, after you've asked them a few things about themselves, I would highly recommend that you talk about something that is going on in the markets currently, or something that's very specific to their field. To give you an example, whenever I spoke with someone that was involved in derivatives, because I had some experience trading options before, I would ask them very specific questions about things in options that only they would know. And this is two things. One, it kind of puts them at ease because, you know, they're talking about something that is kind of like their back of their hand. They've been doing this stuff for so long that they could talk about it no problem. And typically when you ask one of these questions, they'll give you a long response. And so it's a natural way to avoid awkwardness in the conversation and deep silence. And number two, it does you a great favor because it shows them that you're very interested in this stuff, which is the key in what they're looking for in a candidate that they're considering for an internship. So remember, the second key part of networking is to make impressions. Make sure you're being remembered by the people that you talk to and not just another person that they talk to on the phone. Now, the last key that I'm going to mention to you is referrals. At the end of every phone call, you should be asking whoever it is that you're speaking with if there's other people within that bank or other people that they know would be beneficial for you to talk to. Now, this is important for two reasons. One, it gives you more people that you can reach out to that maybe you didn't find on LinkedIn. And two, it highly increases the chances of you getting a response from the people that they just mentioned. Why? Because when you reach out to these new people, you're gonna mention that you have already spoken with so-and-so, which dramatically increases your chances of getting a response. People are so much more likely to respond to you if they see that you've already spoken with someone they already know, or if someone that they know has referred you to them, because it's another common ground for you two. You're not strangers anymore. You talk to someone that they know. Referrals are absolutely key in growing your network and developing your connection, because you're doing it organically and not just cold reaching out to people, which has a much less likelihood of getting you responses. Now, a common question that I get a lot is, where do I actually find these people to reach out to? If you go to Google and you type in your school name, the word LinkedIn, and the field that you're trying to go into, so for example, investment banking or sales and trading or equity research, Google will automatically give you a whole list of people that went to your school or working in your field, or the field that you're trying to get into rather, and you can find these people that way and then get their name and then use that name to reach out to them via email. Or if the email doesn't work, simply send them a LinkedIn connection. The key to getting higher response rates, I was once told that the average is probably 1 in every 10 people you respond will reply to you, but I was getting around 3 or 4 people for every 10 people that I emailed. And I think the key to that was honestly to letting them know why it is that I wanted to talk to them specifically. It wasn't a copy and paste email per se, in the sense that every word besides their name was the same, and that was the email that I was sending to everyone that I was reaching out to. The structure of the email was the same. I made sure to mention their specific field every time I reached out to someone, regardless of the field that it was, to ensure that I was conveying to them, this is why I want to talk to you. It's because you work in this field. I honestly think that'll help you guys get higher response rates as well. Make sure to do a little bit of research on the person that you're speaking with. Usually it'll just show you on LinkedIn the specific thing that they work in. So with that being said, guys, make sure you're getting on this right away. Like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, you guys do not have as much time that you think that you have. Now, this is the reality of the finance field, and it kind of sucks because it means you have to figure out really soon what it is that you want to do, and that's really difficult. But again, the way you're going to do that is by getting involved in finance clubs, talking to your upperclassmen, networking with professionals to really see what the work is like in all of these fields. And then once you figure out what it is you want to do, you hammer that field and network so that when applications come out, when interviews are rolling out, you give yourself a much higher chance of landing the interview. So if you guys stuck around till the end of the video, I highly appreciate it. Thank you so much for staying. If you guys found any value from this, I would highly appreciate it if you did subscribe and make sure to hit that bell notification so that you don't miss another video from me. And I'll catch you in the next video where I talk about some more finance stuff.